Hi, welcome to today's Leaders in Mental Wellness and Diabetes, where you will hear insights from the top minds in the world of diabetes care. Hosted by Dr. Char.
Hello. Today I have Nadin Benrey. She is a wellness coach. She studied at Maryland University, but she lives and works in San Diego, California. She was born and raised in Mexico. She's a cancer survivor. Thus, she values life and family and health. My goodness, it's such an honor to meet you. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Char, for having me here. It's really my honor and pleasure to be with you today.
Well, it is an honor to follow you. I don't know how to describe it, the atmosphere that your smile and the tone, it's like the tone of your language is soothing and helpful. So if you put good information with that, we're all in.
Oh, thank you.
We're all in because you have so many things that work for you already. But I want you to tell us, first of all, about your journey with diabetes. I understand you're not a patient yourself. I'm type 1 for 48 years. Okay. And so since you're not a patient, how did you get into helping our community? And that's interesting to me.
Right. So it's a very interesting story. I decided to become a life coach like 6 or 7 years ago. And when I finished my training, a friend of mine told me, hey, I got an email from a foundation in San Diego that they're looking for coaches. So why don't you reach out to them? So I did. And this is a foundation that helps prevent diabetes. So at the beginning, they told me, we're not interested. You don't have a background on this and this. And then I told them, let me talk to you, please, and have a conversation with you, because I know how hard it is to change your lifestyle, because I've been through health things myself. So I did. They gave me an opportunity to start working with them. And I got passionate about it, so passionate that I said I need to learn more. So I went to look for a master's degree in health and wellness coaching. That's how I got my degree at Maryland University of Integrative Health. And I've been doing diabetes prevention since then. And it's really amazing. I do have some diabetic patients, clients that I work with. So I do help them through the journey of dealing with this chronic disease.
Wow. Yeah. I love that, because first of all, when I, as a teenager, was diagnosed, the only reference I had was watching my grandmother as I grew older with the disease myself. But I watched her listen to what the doctor said, but yet eat wrong because she didn't know but what they were telling her, and they didn't know at the time. And yeah, it was pretty, looking back on some of that, it was pretty vague, the information we had. So not only do we have it constantly, we have a little too much sometimes, but we also have good information, and it's world changing. And so thank you, first of all, for what you do. Thank you for my community, what you do, because it's not just a lifestyle so we look at our very best, and a lifestyle so we can perform at our very best. It's a lifestyle that 200 times a day, every bite that can enter our mouth, we need to monitor or know, because it's going to make a difference in our lives. So the first thing I saw, well, it wasn't the first thing, but what jumped out at me is the high fructose corn syrup. I think it was just today or that I saw it, or yesterday or something, the high fructose corn syrup. I've done a whole podcast with an endocrinologist who's passionate about how it even got to this country. Then I did another podcast where he went to Australia and told all the specialists of how it got huge. And so we seem so small in the arena to fix it now, when, so tell me about that high fructose corn syrup, because when I saw you say that Ritz crackers has,
Mhm.
I mean, so how does the individual, once you know how that got into our world and we see where big companies is who's doing it and how are we going to fix it? How do you help us know what's wrong and how we can individually, how it cannot
Right.
impact us wrong?
Yeah, that's a great point. So one of the most important things that I do with my clients, it's exactly what you're saying, like guiding them through a journey of health and wellness. But listen, what do you use to eat? Maybe the most things you eat is what you ate at home, right? We do it by only by copying what our moms used to cook, and then we do the same, right? But we didn't have any classes in high school or middle school on teaching us what ingredients, what are healthy ingredients for us and what are not. High fructose corn syrup, it's one of the worst enemies that we have out there. And the most important thing is that it's hidden in many products, right? Like Ritz crackers. And I was so surprised. Yesterday, I went shopping to create a video for one of my social media platforms. And I was looking, of course, at ketchup and barbecue sauces and things that we all know that contain.
Sure.
I didn't even put the Coke because we know Coca-Cola is boom, number one, right? And then I went and I was looking for hydrogenated oils actually when I grabbed the Ritz crackers. And when I saw that it had high fructose corn syrup, I said, really, we are in trouble here, because everybody that is trying to prevent diabetes or is diabetic, it's worried about the simple carbs they're eating and the amount of sugar, right? Added sugar that they have in their diet. You would never think that a Ritz cracker would have high fructose corn syrup. So for me, it's a red flag. Hey, community, hey, please, we need to read labels. And that is your most important tool that you can have. If you read every label when you go shopping, you will be healthier immediately.
And while it takes a little more effort, and you have to give yourself time through those aisles to do that, if you really stop and think about it, that's a little price to pay for the benefit that you gain from it. It's just, I mean, when you think that through, the understanding of that busyness versus doing that is amazing. Don't you agree?
I completely agree. So like you said, if you go one day and you have the time to dedicate to exactly choose products that are healthy for you, then you will remember those and you don't have to spend too much time, right? Good. The thing is dedicating that. When I talk to my clients about going shopping to the grocery store, I always tell them, what are some things that you should always do when you go shopping, right? So the first one is having a list. Second one, never go hungry. And yesterday, when I was teaching a class, I told them, you know what? Never go without your glasses. Because if you don't have them with you, you're going to make mistakes, right? Because you're not going to be reading the labels. So that's how important it is to maybe have some time and really learn what products to buy, what the ingredients on the products that we buy. And that way we can really avoid bringing home things that are harmful.
What do you suggest for substitutes to high fructose corn syrup?
So the first thing I tell everyone, it's better to have, products that do not contain high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
Now, if they do contain sugar, right, we need to monitor the amount of added sugar that those contain. Now, there are many ways for manufacturers, unfortunately, to sneak in the sugars, because they change names and they call dextrose. And then, so we need to be very careful. That's why reading the label, and when you see now the FDA approve a new label that really has that line that says added sugar. With that line, you have more control on what you're getting into your system. Yeah.
Well, it just blew me away a little bit, thinking, Ritz crackers, really?
It's crazy.
So I think it's, as small as that is, how impactful to help people. So this ability for us to be community and share online from country to country now, city to city, we can lock arms and help each other. So the gal that has not as much time as I do, that goes in and checks a label, I recommend people just post it and tell others about it, so that if they rush in at rush hour, got to get home, get dinner done, have something planned after, somebody's already informed them and they know. And we that are interested, really interested, we will appreciate that. And we'll take advantage of that knowledge, right? And who's not on social media anymore to find out? I mean, gosh, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it is everywhere. Yeah.
Well, what about anxiety? I am your mental health girl, so I've got to ask, where do you see anxiety or mental health issues showing up whether patients, I don't know, do you call them clients? What
clients.
do you call them? Clients.
Yeah, clients.
How does it show up? How does mental health issues show up for a diabetes patient, let's say, or someone that is predisposed and they're concerned and does not want to be diagnosed because mama was? What do you tell them, and how does it, first of all, show up in them, the anxiety or depression or whatever mental health issue that comes along?
Right. That's a great question. Many of my clients deal with anxiety and depression. And that is a big trigger for eating the wrong things, right? It's a big trigger. So we talk about it, and as they go through the process of talking about it and pinpointing which are the things that worry them the most, then we can definitely create a plan on how to cope with those feelings, how to cope with those triggers, and then create a strategy on things that can prevent them from going in the wrong direction, right? So many of my clients really deal with the anxiety of the pre-diabetes becoming diabetes, right? And they are very scared because they've seen it in their family, and they have a mother, a grandmother, or a husband who's either lost their eyesight or amputations, and they are really scared. So I always tell them, but you are now doing something to prevent it. Only by contacting me, you are already a step ahead of, you know how many pre-diabetics are in the United States, Dr. Char?
I don't.
Okay, so in the United States, there are 300 million people, more or less. 88 million are pre-diabetic. Wow. That's a third of the population. Right. And the scariest part is that only a third of 10% of those know they have it, because it's a silent condition. There are no signs. There are nothing that can really, if you don't go to the doctor and they make the A1C test or the glucose, they test your glucose, you don't know. And maybe your A1C is already at 6.4. And you're like this, you're a month away from becoming diabetic, right? So that is some of the things that really, it's very scary. So when a client comes to me, and I have right now a client who is pre-diabetic and very close to becoming diabetic, unfortunately, she's scared. So I told her, listen, the life changes that we're going to create have to be based on you willingly to change, but not for fear. Because if fear is the motor for change, at some point you're going to fail. It has to come from your heart. It has to come from your desire to be healthier. That has to be the motor for change. So it's so interesting, but so rewarding when they give me a call and say, hey, my A1C, it's now 5.6. And I really get tears into my eyes when I hear that.
That is so good. So good. The motor for change. I love that. When a patient of mine is motivated by fear, I want to downplay the fear by saying motivation comes in ebbs and waves. It'll come and go. It's not sustainable. But what I try to get them to is that while that's not sustainable, and that doesn't, I love that term, motor for change. While that's not sustainable for change, neither is habitual habits. Why do I try and keep falling off the wagon? It's because you said the heart. It's because I describe it like our brain is an operating system. And when we operate from the subconscious 90% of the time and from our awareness 10% of the time, no wonder we fall off the wagon. It's what's in that software pre-established in there that we're working off of most of our day. And so if my day has been full and ragged of negative emotions and stressed when it's not an emergency, we've learned to keep stress far longer than it was meant to stay with us. Then when we get to home and all the comfort food is laying around, we're tired. That's not the time that our behaviors are going to stay intact because of our willpower. Because willpower has a battery life and it's just worn out after all day. So that knowing that it comes from the belief, from your heart, from the substance and the depth, I call it the operating system, what you believe, and that brain that we are the boss of, we're the CEO of, then and only then can you get sustainable change. And so when you take people away from fear to a motor of change through the heart, through the depth of what they believe and who they are and who they want to be, you are my girl. I believe you're the one that's going to make a real difference to a younger generation, because we have tons of information about habit change and lifestyle change and motivational change and willpower change. And yet none of those seem to be sustainable forever. When you get people out of fear, and you get people into what they want to believe, they may not even have it believed now. They could be operating off of what was embedded in them before they were even 7 or 8 years old. And those that were supposed to be nurturing them built in their software.
Right.
So when you get them out of fear, operating on their own beliefs and what they want, the brain will go get it. It's what it was created to do, is go get what you want. And you're teaching them, what is it that you want? Now let's figure it out and go get it. That's amazing. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's very, very rewarding to see and understand when your client becomes empowered to really create a change in their life. And then when they tell you, you know what, this week was effortless. Wow. That means that the changes they've implemented in their life are there to stay. If something is effortless, then it's there to stay and to stay forever, right? So that is fantastic. Yeah, that is one of the most amazing things that I see in the change of my clients when they start, and then when they really are in control of their diabetes or their pre-diabetes, and then it's reversible. That's amazing.
I used to look at you and say, boy, her job is easier than mine, because she can teach somebody to lose weight, and she can teach somebody what to eat and exercise, and you can see it drop off. So it's easier to convince people that what she does works than this life of joy. I believe joy is our birthright. And But what I've learned in recent years, getting old is so good because you have such wisdom when you get older.
That's correct. That's right.
So it's been so good for me. But when I see someone sit taller and I hear myself come out of a restaurant and I listen back and I didn't talk about what they had to eat that I couldn't, that I just ate what I was supposed to, and it was of no issue. And I didn't expect anybody to feel sorry for me and say, oh, you can have it. No, but it's okay. I catch myself nowadays never doing that. So nobody even notices that I'm eating different. And I walk out taller and I smile bigger. And when I see that in others, I do see a difference where I used to just see them thinking, oh, if I could show how anxiety shows up like weight loss, it would really be good. Well, you can. When the joy's better, no fear is there. Empowerment is there. You betcha it shows up in a life.
Right. It's so, yeah, you're so right on that. Definitely. Yeah. And this journey that I go with my clients, it's amazing. And I'm not going to say that it's always highlights, right? They're like you said, they're step backs and you fall off the wagon, and then understanding and helping them. Come on. You said something very interesting, Dr. Char. You said you have 200 opportunities, right, during the day, every time you put something in your mouth. And so I tell my clients, hey, you have an opportunity. Every time you're going to make a choice, you can make that choice better. So if the choice that you did an hour ago was not great, you can always make a better one in the next time you choose something to eat. So don't look at the things that you are doing wrong. Look at all the successes that you're doing and how much you're changing, because you agree with me that the human nature is to look at the things that we don't do great, right? But we need to teach and explain to our clients that they do so many amazing things during the day, and they have to focus on that, and they have new opportunities. When we're talking about food, how many opportunities you have during the day to make a better choice.
Oh,
right?
Yes. And with those, if we just make it about their lifestyle change and we never help them change the heart, the core, the belief of that. I'm in this process right now. I'm writing a book, a little ebook about understanding anxiety and reversing it. You can reverse the stuff. You don't have to keep it. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to monitor it if you know the core. So when people even move from pre-diabetes to diabetes, if it's type 2, everybody agrees now, not 20 years ago, everybody agrees now. It's just language is different. The medical profession says remission, and a lot of life coaches say reversal. But I know my nephew that's about 45, he lost 100 pounds. Amazing. And he either is in remission or he reversed it, but he does not have diabetes, and he's not even at a level for pre-diabetes. Now, I don't give a ding dong what he calls it, because I know today, if you want to call it remission, then I'm okay with that, because I know still today he has to know of those 200 opportunities that goes in his mouth. What is he going to choose? He gets to do that the rest of his life. I'm sorry that it's his responsibility, privilege, and obligation to do that. Right. And yes, when he's healthy, he can choose things that I can't choose on a daily basis and still be okay. But once he gets the fear out, the love of self in, and a health mindset, he will know, not have to dwell on it and not have to go there. And so if you want to call it remission, then I think it's remission, because we do have to deal with it the rest of our lives, in the sense of being health conscious.
Exactly.
But if you want to call it reversal, I'm all in because it is no longer there. So I don't mind which side. Do you?
Right.
Just so it's gone.
Exactly. I completely agree. And yes, either it's remission or it's reversible, but definitely if you work hard on it, it will be in either or of those categories for sure. I've seen it. I've seen it with my clients, and they stay at 5.3 A1C for forever. I keep in contact with them, and they say, hey, I'm still doing this. And very important, it's about being healthy, right? And it's about not being perfect, because we need to understand that there's nothing more stressful than trying to be perfect, right? So one of the most important things that I work with my clients, it's about, you need to do this 80% of the time. And 20% of the time, you can maybe do little tweaks there and here and there, but the overall picture is going to be better for you. And that gives my clients a relief, because when they think of some changes in their lifestyle, there are forever, that becomes very, very stressful for many clients, right? So understanding that it's 80% of the time that you have to do it, and you have those 20% where you can maybe not do perfect, but it works, then it's less stressful for them. Also, one important thing, Dr. Char, that I talk to my clients about, it's many of them have been in any number of diets. Diet 1, diet 2, the keto, the Mediterranean. So the first thing I tell them is, I do not believe in diets, because diets are not sustainable. Lifestyle change is sustainable. And so that is something very interesting, that it's very, very powerful for my clients when they don't think about making changes as a diet. And it goes back to what you were talking when you're in a restaurant and you go in and nobody noticed that you're doing something specific to your diet, but you are doing it because that's your new lifestyle. But it's okay. You are not missing out of any of the other things.
Yeah, it's like when you go in and you eat from not fear, from not a victim. So I need somebody to feel sorry for me. I need to draw attention to this, even though it's a little subtle, not a bully, like, you know what? I've worked hard today. I am going to have this. It's mine. I deserve it. You're not operating out of that. You're operating out of no fear. You're operating out of a health mindset. You're operating out of a healthy belief that you want to get there. So there's no need for perfection.
Exactly.
There's no need. What is in need of perfection is when I give myself a list and I'm working to change a behavior and I fall short. Well, it never served me well to get me back up on the wagon, because, you know, I have never been one. I'm too upfront and forward. I don't lie easy. I really don't lie easy. I'm not a liar. But you ask me, because look at this size. I still need 22 pounds to release. You ask me what I weigh, and sometimes without thought, I have told people 2 pounds less than I really weigh. And if I'm going to lie, why not tell them 20 pounds less, right? But my point is, we set ourselves up when we're in comparison with what is a good number and what is not, what is a good exercise and what is not, what is a good carb and what is not. We set ourselves up on the what I call the gap of comparison. And again, I am not a liar. I don't even lie easy. Don't ask me my opinion, because it comes out real clear. It's just my nature. But you can ask me what I weigh, and before I think I have said 2 pounds less than that scale said. Why?
That's interesting.
It's because we are conditioned by those lists of things, and we're trying to change a behavior to make our lifestyle change. And we need to make the lifestyle changes. And first of all and foremost, I love that you use getting rid of fear. But we need that lifestyle change from a posture of the heart, not a posture of those behaviors. And then the behaviors will change. I'm telling you, you and I, let's go conquer the world. We can do it together.
Please. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. And you said something very interesting right now, that when somebody asks you about your weight, you will tell them that you're 2 pounds lower. So I have a client who, when I started working with her, she didn't like herself. She didn't like her. She didn't love herself. And it was because of what you're saying, that appearance, and we compare ourselves with others. So she always thought that she is a chubby girl. And one of the most important works that I did with her was from the heart, to empower her to love herself first. Then the weight loss came. But the first thing is that you need to start loving yourself the way you are, and look at the mirror and say, I am beautiful. I am great. And then you can achieve and accomplish other things, because that's exactly, because it's not only fear, it's disappointment on her and not loving her, right? So I think that is major. When she started saying, you made me change the way I think about myself, I said, wow, what does that it's like? How do you feel? And she said, it's the most amazing feeling I have now. I feel strong, and I feel that people see me. So, and that was one of the best things. And then, I mean, she kept on working on it, and weight loss happened, and she's not longer pre-diabetic. But we work more on what you were talking about, which is the comparison. And we have this idea of the perfect, right? The perfect woman that needs to be out there. And we're all different.
And we have a whole world that has done a lot of good with forming habits and changing behaviors. There's a lot of good tools to manage anxiety, to manage all these things. But if we can change the core, if we can get to the core, then there's nothing to manage if we fix what's wrong in the core. And so you and I come from a different space of that core, but we come from the exact space as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is my delight to meet you. It is so good to watch that soothing approach that you have to people. So just as much as I've enjoyed that, if there's anybody watching that hasn't found you, where can they see you online?
So, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. And it is really my honor to be here. Thank you for the work you're doing, because I believe that as people hear what you're doing, they will be definitely empowered to be healthier, to keep on fighting and being better to prevent diabetes or deal with diabetes. Thank you. The way to reach out to me, I have a website, Balance and Wellness, and I'm on Instagram. You can find me with my name, Nadin Benrey, and I'm on Facebook. And I'm out there trying to provide information so everybody can stay away from Ritz crackers.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yes.
That's so good. High fructose corn syrup. Yeah. The two doctors that one's an endocrinologist, I guess the other is an endocrinologist as well. But both of those that have been on this journey with this to expose this high fructose corn syrup, I'm going to reach out to them when I get this edited and we get it posted. I'm going to reach out to them to say, you go listen. There's more out there trying to get the job done one-on-one with people. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for who you are. And thank you now for being my friend.
Thank you so much.
It's a joy meeting you.
Same.
Let's keep linked up.
Of course. Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.